He purchased a spaceship from the junkyard, but the resident alien girl refuses to leave. Jonathan Reese wiped the sweat from his brow as he trudged through Rusty Heaven, the largest spacecraft junkyard in the Orion sector. His battle-worn armor creaked with each step, telling tales of countless scrapes he'd survived. The scorching binary suns beat down mercilessly, making the endless rows of derelict ships shimmer like mirages in the distance. Lot 247. Nanashwai, Armina, he muttered, checking his datapad. Should be right around here. He rounded a corner and stopped dead in his tracks. There she was, the Stellar Dreamer, a Novarian-class light freighter. Despite the years of neglect, her sleek lines still hinted at former glory. Sure, her hull was pockmarked with micrometeorite impacts, and patches of corrosion marred her once pristine surface, but Jonathan saw potential where others saw scrap. Finally, a break, he grinned, running his calloused hand along the hull. The purchase had cost him nearly everything, but if he could restore her, the profit would set him up for years. The airlock cycled with a wheezing hiss. Jonathan drew his sidearm, standard procedure when entering abandoned vessels. The interior was surprisingly clean, though emergency lights cast everything in an eerie red glow. He made his way toward the bridge, boots clanking against metal grating. "Hello, handsome." Jonathan spun around, weapon raised. In the doorway stood a female figure that made him question his sanity. Her skin was a vibrant emerald green that seemed to glow in the dim light. Flowing white hair framed a face that could launch 1,000 starships. Despite her worn leather clothing that had seen better days, she carried herself with undeniable grace. "Who the hell are you?" Jonathan demanded, keeping his weapon trained on her. She leaned against the doorframe, completely unfazed by the gun. "I'm Aurora, and you're trespassing on my ship." Jonathan holstered his weapon and pulled out his datapad. "Actually, you're the one trespassing. I just bought this vessel. Here's the paperwork. Legal and binding." Aurora's luminous eyes narrowed. "I don't care about your paperwork. I've lived here for the past 2 years, and I'm not leaving." "Listen, I sank everything I had into this purchase. I can't afford to—" "Not my problem," she cut him off. "Find another ship." Jonathan ran a hand through his beard in frustration. "Look, I get that you've made yourself at home here, but this isn't a charity. I need to restore this ship and sell it, or I'm ruined." "Then I guess you're ruined," Aurora replied with a shrug. "Because I'm not going anywhere." They stood in tense silence, neither willing to back down. Finally, Jonathan sighed. "Fine, you can stay until I finish the repairs. But after that, you need to find somewhere else." Aurora's expression softened slightly. "We'll see about that." The next few days aboard the Stellar Dreamer proved interesting. Jonathan found himself constantly aware of Aurora's presence as they shared the confined space. Her movements were hypnotic, almost feline in their grace, and he caught himself watching her more often than he cared to admit. "Hand me that plasma torch," Jonathan called from beneath a damaged console. Aurora's slender green fingers passed him the tool, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. "You know," she said, settling cross-legged beside him, "for a human who claims to be desperate to sell this ship, you're taking your sweet time with these repairs." Jonathan emerged from under the console, wiping grease from his hands. "Maybe I'm just thorough. Or maybe you're enjoying the company?" Her luminous eyes sparkled with mischief. He cleared his throat, trying to maintain his professional demeanor. "Speaking of which, you seem to know an awful lot about Novarian-class systems for someone who just happened to be squatting here." Aurora's playful expression faltered slightly. "Let's just say I've had plenty of time to learn the ins and outs of this ship." "And why exactly did you choose this particular vessel as your home? Why so curious?" She leaned closer, her exotic scent making his head swim. "Are you always this interested in your temporary roommates?" Jonathan found himself caught in her gaze. "Only the mysterious green ones who refuse to answer simple questions." She laughed, a sound like crystal wind chimes. "Maybe I just enjoy making you wonder." Their work fell into a rhythm over the next few days. During the day, they tackled repairs together, her knowledge of the ship's systems proving invaluable. At night, they shared meals in the small galley, trading stories, though Jonathan noticed Aurora carefully avoided any details about her past. One evening, as they sat in the observation dome watching the twin suns set, Aurora broke their comfortable silence. "You're different from other humans I've encountered." How so? Most would have thrown me out immediately or tried to negotiate terms for my continued stay. Her tone made it clear what kind of negotiations she meant. Jonathan felt his face flush. I'm not most humans. No, she agreed softly. You're not. Her hand found his in the dimming light. The air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Jonathan turned to face her, acutely aware of how close they'd gotten. Aurora's eyes seemed to glow in the twilight, drawing him in. This is probably a bad idea, he murmured. Probably, she agreed, closing the distance between them. What followed was a night that defied Jonathan's understanding of alien physiology, leaving them both breathless and changed. The next morning, as artificial dawn broke over the junkyard, they lay tangled in each other's arms in his quarters. Still planning to sell the ship? Aurora traced patterns on his chest. I'm reconsidering my options, Jonathan admitted. She propped herself up on one elbow, studying his face. You know I still won't tell you why I'm here. I know. He brushed a strand of white hair from her face. But maybe I'm starting to care less about the why and more about the who. Jonathan's data pad chimed with an incoming transmission while he was elbow-deep in the Stellar Dreamer's navigation systems. Aurora lounged nearby, supervising his work while actually admiring the way his muscles flexed under his fitted workshirt. Can you check that? He asked, not looking up from the delicate circuitry. Aurora grabbed the pad, her eyes widening. Jonathan, you might want to see this. The message was from Helios Enterprises, one of the largest private fleet operators in the sector. They'd somehow caught wind of his restoration project and were offering an astronomical sum for the Stellar Dreamer, 5 times what he'd originally hoped to get. Holy shit, he breathed, scanning the details. With this kind of money, I could buy a whole fleet of ships. Aurora's face remained carefully neutral. Quite the opportunity. Yeah, he studied her expression, noting the slight tension in her shoulders. But nothing. It's your ship, your decision. She turned away, but not before he caught the flash of pain in her luminous eyes. Jonathan set down the datapad. Aurora, don't. She held up a hand. We both knew this was temporary. You need to sell the ship. It's why you bought it. I'm just… She gestured vaguely. An unexpected complication. He crossed the space between them, turning her to face him. Is that what you think you are? A complication? Their eyes met, and the electricity that had been building between them since that first night crackled in the recycled air. Without warning, Aurora pulled him into a fierce kiss that left them both breathless. I think, she whispered against his lips, that you're making this much harder than it needs to be. Their passion ignited again, more intense than before, as if they both sensed time slipping away. Later, lying in the dim light of the observation dome, Aurora traced the scars on his chest, while Jonathan played with her silken white hair. You could come with me, he suggested. When I sell the ship, we could… No. Her response was immediate and final. I told you, I can't leave. Then tell me why. Help me understand what's holding you here. Aurora sat up, wrapping herself in one of the blankets they'd brought up. The binary stars painted her green skin in shades of gold and amber. Do you know why I chose this ship? Jonathan propped himself up on an elbow, sensing she was finally ready to share something real. This isn't just any Novarian-class freighter, she continued. It's the last of its kind with the original quantum matrix intact. Every other ship of this model had theirs replaced due to a recall, but this one somehow slipped through the cracks. And that's important because the quantum matrix contains navigation data, coordinates to places that aren't supposed to exist. Places some very powerful people would prefer to remain hidden. She turned to face him, her eyes intense. I can't leave because I'm still trying to decrypt that data. Jonathan absorbed this information. What kind of places? The kind that could change everything. Ancient outposts, forbidden technologies, proof of… She hesitated. Proof of things that would rewrite history as we know it. And you're telling me this now because I trust you. The simple honesty in her voice made his heart skip. And because you deserve to know what you'd be giving up along with the ship. Jonathan sat up fully, running a hand through his disheveled hair. So if I sell to Helios, they'll strip out the matrix, destroy the data, and make sure nobody ever finds what I'm looking for. She touched his face gently. But that's not your problem. You should take the offer. He caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. What if I want it to be my problem? Jonathan, no, listen. What if we partner up? You've got the knowledge. I've got the ship. We could find whatever it is you're looking for together. Aurora stared at him for a long moment. You'd give up that kind of money? For this? For me? Sweetheart, he grinned, pulling her close. Some things are worth more than credits. Jonathan woke to the gentle hum of the ship's systems, and Aurora's warm body curled against his. The past week had been a whirlwind of work on the quantum matrix, stolen moments of passion, and increasingly aggressive messages from Helios Enterprises. Morning, beautiful, he murmured, kissing her shoulder. Aurora stretched languidly, her green skin practically glowing in the artificial dawn. You humans and your obsession with marking time. Space has no mornings? Space also has no gorgeous alien women in my bed. Yet here we are. She laughed, rolling over to face him. Smooth talker, ready to get back to work? They'd made progress decrypting the matrix, but something felt off. The ship's power consumption had been fluctuating oddly, and Jonathan kept finding system access logs that neither of them had created. In the engine room, Jonathan noticed Aurora frowning at her diagnostic panel. What's wrong? These energy signatures, they're not random fluctuations. She pulled up a complex diagram. Someone's scanning us actively, right now. A deep voice suddenly boomed through the ship's communication system. Jonathan Reese, this is Director Thax of Helios Enterprises. Your continued silence regarding our generous offer is concerning. Jonathan and Aurora exchanged alarmed looks. The comm system had been offline for repairs. How the hell, Jonathan started. We've taken the liberty of installing monitoring equipment throughout your vessel, Thax continued, his multi-toned alien voice dripping with false courtesy. Quite fascinating what we've observed, especially your relationship with the fugitive. Aurora went rigid. Jonathan stepped protectively closer to her. The quantum matrix belongs to Helios by right, Thax declared. Your companion knows this. Ask her about her true connection to our organization. Jonathan turned to Aurora, whose luminous eyes were wide with fear and guilt. I was their lead researcher, she whispered. I discovered what the coordinates led to. Ancient human outposts, predating all known space travel. Proof that humans had mastered interstellar flight millennia ago. Helios wanted to suppress the discovery, maintain the narrative that aliens introduced humans to space travel. I couldn't let them destroy the evidence. So you stole the data and ran, Jonathan finished. Precisely, Thax interjected. Corporate espionage, theft, and now harboring a fugitive. Quite a list of charges, Mr. Reese. Jonathan's jaw clenched. What do you want? Simple, surrender the ship and the fugitive. In return, we'll clear your record and triple our original offer. Aurora gripped Jonathan's arm. You can't trust them. You have 1 hour to decide, Thax interrupted. Choose wisely. The comm went dead. Jonathan immediately began pulling panels off the walls, searching for surveillance devices. We need to sweep the whole ship. Jonathan, wait. Aurora caught his hand. You should take the deal. He stared at her incredulously. Are you serious? This isn't your fight. I got you into this mess, but you can still get out. Take the money, clear your name. Jonathan silenced her with a kiss that left them both breathless. When he pulled back, his eyes were fierce with determination. Listen carefully, because I'm only saying this once. I don't care about the money. I don't care about my record. What I care about is you, the brilliant, maddening woman who refused to leave my ship and ended up stealing my heart along with it. Aurora's eyes shimmered with emotion. You impossible human, she whispered, pulling him close. Their bodies melded together, passion and desperation fueling their embrace. Later, as they lay tangled in each other's arms, Jonathan traced the patterns on her skin that glowed faintly in the dim light. So, want to help me devise a plan to outmaneuver an enormous alien corporation? Aurora smiled wickedly. I thought you'd never ask. Jonathan! Aurora's urgent cry jolted him from sleep. The ship's emergency lights were pulsing in angry red, and the artificial gravity was fluctuating wildly. He stumbled out of bed, grabbing for his clothes. What's happening? The surveillance devices. They're not just watching anymore. Aurora's fingers flew across the control panel. They're interfacing with our systems. We're losing control of the ship." The main engines roared to life unbidden, and the stellar dreamer began to move. Through the viewport, Jonathan watched as they pulled away from the junkyard. "They're taking us to Helios," Aurora said grimly. "Those bastards planned this from the start." Jonathan grabbed his toolkit. "Not if I can help it. Where's the primary control node?" "Engineering deck." "But—" The ship lurched violently, throwing Aurora into his arms. Their bodies pressed together, and for a moment the crisis faded into the background as their eyes met. "Well," Jonathan grinned, steadying her, "at least I caught something beautiful." Aurora's luminous eyes sparkled despite their dire situation. "Focus, you impossible human. We need to reach engineering." They fought their way through the shifting gravity, supporting each other as the ship pitched and rolled. In engineering, they found chaos. Panels opening and closing on their own, systems cycling randomly. "There," Aurora pointed to a cluster of tiny devices integrated into the main control board. "The master control unit. But it's tied directly into the power grid now. If we remove it wrong—" "Boom," Jonathan suggested. "More like a complete systems failure. We'd be dead in space." Jonathan studied the setup. "Can we override it?" "Not without access to—" Aurora's eyes widened. "The quantum matrix. It's the only system they haven't compromised because they can't decode it." "Director Thax," a new voice boomed through the ship. "The fugitive appears correct. Shall we initiate Protocol Omega?" "Proceed," Thax's multi-tone voice replied. "If we can't have the matrix, no one will." Warning klaxons blared as the ship's reactor began an overload sequence. Aurora grabbed Jonathan's arm, her skin paling to a lighter shade of green. "They're going to destroy the ship with us in it." Jonathan pulled her close, his mind racing. "The Matrix. You said it contains coordinates, right? Ancient human technology?" "Yes, but could any of those coordinates be nearby? Something we could reach before the reactor blows?" Aurora's fingers danced across a console. "Yes, there's one. It's incredible. The signal's coming from that asteroid field we passed yesterday. But Jonathan, we have no idea what's there." "Better than dying here." He kissed her fiercely, drawing strength from her presence. "Can you transfer power from the reactor to the engines? Buy us some time?" "Already on it." She worked the controls with practiced efficiency. "But we'll only have minutes once I start the transfer." Jonathan suited up in his battle-worn armor. "Then let's make them count." They raced through their emergency procedures, working in perfect sync. Every touch, every shared glance carried the weight of their growing connection, their mutual trust, their deepening feelings. "Reactor transfer complete," Aurora announced. "We have 7 minutes until total failure." Jonathan took the helm, pushing the engines to their limit. "Plot me a course through that asteroid field. Let's see what your ancestors left behind." "My ancestors?" Aurora raised an eyebrow. "The coordinates are for human technology, remember?" "Yeah, but I'm betting those humans had help." He winked at her. "Some things never change." They threaded through the asteroid field, following the ancient signal. Behind them, Helios pursuit ships appeared on the sensors. 4 minutes, Aurora warned, her hand finding his on the controls. "Almost there," Jonathan assured her, though his heart was pounding. "Any idea what we're looking for?" The answer appeared before them. A massive door built into one of the larger asteroids, covered in markings that made Jonathan's eyes hurt to look at. That's impossible," Aurora breathed. "Those are precursor glyphs, the theoretical ancestors of my species. But they're merged with ancient human writing? Can you open it?" 3 minutes until reactor failure, the ship's computer announced helpfully. Aurora's fingers flew across the console, translating frantically. "The quantum matrix, it's not just coordinates, it's a key." The massive door began to move, revealing a cavernous space beyond. Jonathan guided the stellar dreamer inside, just as their pursuit arrived. 2 minutes, the computer warned. "There!" Aurora pointed to a sophisticated docking system. "It's still active." Jonathan maneuvered into position, and ancient machinery came to life, securing their ship. The moment they were locked in, Aurora initiated an emergency shutdown of their reactor. They held each other tightly as the countdown reached 0, and nothing happened. The reactor was contained. "We did it," Aurora whispered, then laughed with relief. "We actually did it!" Jonathan pulled her into a passionate kiss, pouring all his fear, relief, and love into it. When they finally parted, he rested his forehead against hers. "So," he said with a roguish grin. "Want to go explore an ancient human-alien space station?" The station's interior illuminated as Jonathan and Aurora stepped through the airlock. Crystalline lights awakened along the corridors, responding to their presence. The architecture was unlike anything either had seen, a perfect fusion of human practicality and precursor artistic grace. "This is incredible," Aurora breathed, her fingers tracing glyphs that glowed at her touch. The station still powered after all this time. Jonathan watched her work, admiring how her green skin seemed to shimmer in harmony with the station's lights. "Any idea what this place was for?" "It's some kind of research facility, but..." She stopped suddenly, eyes wide. "Jonathan, look at this." A holographic display had activated, showing two figures, one human, one clearly of Aurora's species. They stood together, hands clasped, surrounded by complex mathematical formulae. "They were partners," Aurora whispered. "Not just allies, actual partners. Like us." Jonathan wrapped his arms around her from behind, nuzzling her neck. Great minds think alike, across millennia. The station's systems continued activating as they explored deeper. They found laboratories filled with technology that defied understanding, living quarters that looked ready for immediate occupation, and finally, a vast central chamber. "This is it," Aurora said, approaching a central console. "The main research terminal. If we can access this..." The moment she touched the controls, the chamber transformed. Holographic displays filled the air around them, showing star maps, technical diagrams, and most surprisingly, intimate scenes between humans and precursors. "Well," Jonathan coughed, "looks like we weren't the first to cross that particular bridge." Aurora's skin flushed a darker green. "These aren't just historical records. They're showing us something specific about the connection between our species." The displays focused on one particular image, a human and precursor joining hands over what looked like a weapon schematic. As they touched, energy coursed between them, and the weapon activated. Their combined biosignatures, Aurora realized, that's what powers their most advanced technology. They designed it to work only when our species cooperate, literally built peace into their weapons. Jonathan studied the schematics. "Could we use this against Helios?" "Maybe, if we can figure out how to..." She gasped as Jonathan took her hand, and the chamber's energy suddenly surged. The station's systems responded to their touch, and interfaces reorganizing themselves into familiar patterns. "I guess we figured it out," Jonathan grinned, pulling her closer. The energy between them was intoxicating, more intimate than anything they'd experienced before. Their bodies seemed to resonate with the station's power, drawing them together. Later, as they lay together on a bed that had materialized in response to their needs, Aurora traced patterns on Jonathan's chest that matched the glyphs on the walls. "The station's accepting us as its new operators," she said softly. "It's been waiting for another human precursor pair." "Lucky me," Jonathan kissed her forehead. "Buying a ship with a beautiful precursor descendant already installed." "Lucky me," as she countered, "being found by a human too stubborn to kick me out." Their moment of peace was interrupted by alarms. Helios ships were attempting to breach the asteroid's outer defenses. "It's a time to test our new toys," Jonathan said, helping Aurora up. They dressed quickly and returned to the control chamber, where the station's defensive systems awaited their command. "Ready?" Aurora asked, extending her hand. Jonathan took it, feeling the surge of power between them. "Ready." Together, they activated the ancient weapons. Energy coursed through the station, guided by their combined will. Outside, streams of light erupted from hidden emplacements, not destroying the Helios ships, but rather enveloping them in containment fields. "Perfect," Aurora smiled wickedly. "Now let's show Director Thax what happens when you mess with a human precursor partnership." She opened a communication channel to the trapped ships. "Attention, Helios vessels. This is Aurora, speaking from an ancient facility that proves everything you tried to hide. Humans and precursors built this place together, sharing technology, knowledge, and love." Jonathan stepped forward, still holding her hand. "You have two choices. Retreat and let us reveal the truth to the galaxy, or stay and become part of our demonstration of just how powerful our species are together." There was a long pause before Thax's voice responded, notably less confident than before. "Perhaps we could negotiate a compromise?" Jonathan and Aurora exchanged knowing smiles. They had won. As Jonathan and Aurora prepared the station's broadcasting systems, the holographic displays began behaving strangely. New data streams emerged, showing fragments of ancient records they hadn't seen before. "That's odd," Aurora muttered, her fingers dancing across the controls. "These files were hidden behind quantum encryption, far more complex than anything we've encountered." Jonathan watched as images flickered to life around them. Scenes of devastation, of warfare between combined human precursor forces, and something else. Something that made his skin crawl just looking at it. "The Void Hunters," Aurora breathed, her luminous eyes wide with recognition. "I thought they were just legends my people told to frighten children." The records showed massive beings of dark energy, consuming entire star systems. Humans and precursors fighting side by side, and their combined technologies barely holding the line. "They came from between dimensions," Aurora translated the ancient text. "Drawn by the energy our united species generated, our harmony, our love, it created a beacon they could sense across the void." Jonathan pulled her closer as more images appeared. "So our ancestors separated to protect both species?" "They had no choice. The hunters were drawn to the energy signature of human precursor pairs. By separating, by forgetting each other, they made us invisible to the threat." The final records showed the heartbreaking separations, lovers torn apart, families divided, memories wiped, all to ensure survival. The station had been hidden as a last resort, a way to reunite if the danger ever passed. "Well, shit," Jonathan said eloquently. "If we broadcast this, we might draw their attention again." Aurora turned in his arms, her expression torn. "But Jonathan, our people deserve to know the truth. To know what we lost, what we could be together." He cupped her face in his hands. "The choice has to be yours. I know your people suffered just as much as mine in the separation." Aurora's skin glowed with inner light as she considered. "The Void Hunters haven't been seen in millennia. Maybe they're gone. Maybe we're strong enough now to face them if they return. But even if they're not..." She pressed closer to him, her body molding to his. "I'm tired of hiding what we are." Their passion ignited again, more intense than ever, with the weight of history behind it. The station's systems responded to their combined energy, creating a cocoon of light around them as they expressed their defiance of ancient fears through their union. Later, as they lay intertwined, the station's alerts chimed softly. The Helios ships were still waiting for their decision. "So?" Jonathan traced the patterns on her skin that seemed to glow brighter with each touch. "Ready to change the galaxy?" Aurora sat up, her white hair cascading over her shoulders. Actually, I have a better idea." She pulled up the station's controls. "What if we show them first? Let Helios witness what happens when our species truly combine our strength." Jonathan grinned. "Give them a preview of coming attractions?" "Exactly." She began typing rapidly. "We'll demonstrate the full power of a human precursor partnership. Show them why our ancestors were strong enough to face the Void Hunters in the first place." The station systems came alive under their combined touch. Energy coursed through ancient conduits as they activated capabilities that hadn't been used in millennia. "Director Thax," Aurora broadcast, "we're going to show you something. Consider it a demonstration of why hiding the truth is no longer an option." Together, they channeled their energy through their station systems. The asteroid field around them began to move, reorganizing itself into complex geometric patterns that defied normal physics. "Holy shit," Jonathan breathed as he felt their combined power flow. "We can do that?" Aurora laughed, and the sound pure joy. "We can do anything together." That's what they feared. Not just our technology, but our potential when united. The Helios ships watched in a stunned silence as the asteroids danced to their will. Finally, Thax's voice came through, subdued and almost reverent. Perhaps we were wrong to hide this. The power you demonstrate, it's beyond anything in our current records. This is just the beginning," Aurora replied. "Imagine what our species could accomplish together, without fear, without hiding. The Void Hunters forced us apart, but they're long gone. It's time to remember who we really are." Jonathan pulled her into a fierce kiss. When they parted, he grinned at her. "So, want to help me rewrite history?" "Always," she smiled back. "But first," she gestured to where the Stellar Dreamer was docked. "What are we going to do with your ship?" "Our ship," he corrected. "After all, you refused to leave, remember?" "Best decision I never made." The Stellar Dreamer emerged from hyperspace near the Crimson Nebula, its systems now enhanced by ancient technology from the station. Jonathan stood at the helm, admiring how the ship's worn interior had been transformed by the marriage of human and precursor engineering. "The next station should be here," Aurora said, studying the quantum matrix readings. She'd traded her tattered clothes for a sleek outfit synthesized by the station, though she'd kept the leather boots, a reminder of where their journey began. "Should be?" Jonathan raised an eyebrow. "That's not very scientific of you." She stuck her tongue out at him, a very human gesture she'd picked up. "The coordinates are perfect. The station's just hidden." Jonathan guided their ship closer to a massive cloud of crimson gas. "Like the last one? Waiting for the right combination to reveal itself?" "Exactly." Aurora's skin seemed to pulse with anticipation as she approached him. "Ready to do your part, handsome?" He pulled her onto his lap, earning a surprised laugh. "Always ready to help unlock ancient secrets with the power of love." Their connection had grown stronger with each passing day. Now when they combined their energy, it felt as natural as breathing. Aurora's luminous eyes met his, and power flowed between them, reaching out through the ship's enhanced sensors. The crimson gas before them began to shift, swirling into complex patterns that matched their energy signature. Then, like a curtain being drawn aside, it revealed another asteroid facility, larger than the first. "Show-offs," Jonathan muttered, but he was grinning. The ancients really had a flair for dramatic reveals. As they docked, they found this station already awakening, responding to their presence. The interior was different, more organic-looking, with corridors that seemed to breathe. "This was a biological research facility," Aurora translated from the entrance glyphs. "They studied how our species could, She paused, blushing a deeper green. "Could what?" Jonathan prompted, enjoying her reaction. "Could produce offspring together," she finished, not meeting his eyes. Jonathan stopped walking. "That's possible?" "Apparently." She finally looked at him, her expression vulnerable. "The ancients believed our species were meant to merge completely, not just work together. They were studying ways to make it happen when the Void Hunters appeared." The implications hit him like a gravity wave. He pulled her close on his heart racing. "Aurora!" She pressed against him, her body trembling slightly. "I know, it's a lot to process, but Jonathan..." She took his face in her hands. "Don't you see? This is why they couldn't keep us apart forever. We're literally made for each other." Their passion ignited there in the ancient corridor, their combined energy causing the station systems to surge and pulse around them. When they finally made it to the control center, both were disheveled but glowing with shared power. "Right," Jonathan cleared his throat, trying to focus. "Let's see what else this place can tell us." The station's records were extensive, showing successful experiments in genetic compatibility. But more importantly, they revealed locations of dozens more hidden facilities, each containing pieces of their shared heritage. "Look at this," Aurora pointed to a star chart. They created a network. Each station was designed to awaken the next, building momentum for when our species finally reunited. "Smart," Jonathan nodded. "Hard to stop the truth when it's spreading from multiple points." They spent hours studying the data, planning their next moves. The station provided them with upgraded equipment, including personal shields that worked on their combined energy. "We should contact the others," Aurora suggested. "The human precursor pairs who've been hiding their relationships. This station can detect them now that we know what to look for." Jonathan pulled up the scan results. "There are more than I expected. Dozens just in this sector, all living in secret, afraid of judgment or worse." "Not anymore." Aurora's voice was fierce. "We'll show them what's possible when we stop hiding. The stations can protect them while we gather strength." He caught her hand, pulling her close again. "Speaking of possibilities..." He gestured to the biological research data. "Should we discuss that?" Her luminous eyes softened. "Are you asking if I want to have little half-human, half-precursor babies with you?" "Maybe." He tried to sound casual, but his heart was pounding. "I mean for science, to prove the ancients right." Aurora laughed, the sound echoing through the station. "Let's focus on awakening the other stations first." "But..." She pressed a lingering kiss to his lips. "I'm not opposed to practicing the necessary techniques." Later, as they prepared to contact the first hidden couple, Jonathan watched Aurora at the controls. Who would have thought that buying a junked spaceship would lead to this? To revolution, to love, to a future he'd never imagined possible. "What are you thinking about?" Aurora asked, catching his gaze. "Just glad you refused to leave my ship." She smiled, her whole being glowing with happiness. "Our ship," she corrected, "and I'm never leaving." The warning klaxons jolted Jonathan and Aurora from sleep. The Stellar Dreamer's enhanced systems were detecting massive energy signatures. The hidden stations were awakening on their own, far ahead of schedule. "This isn't possible," Aurora muttered, her fingers flying across the control panel. Her skin was glowing brighter than usual, responding to the surge of ancient power. "The network wasn't supposed to activate until we triggered each node individually." Jonathan pulled on his armor, watching as new stations appeared on their scanner. Could our combined energy have caused a chain reaction? Maybe, but she stopped, staring at a new reading. "Jonathan, look at this." One of the newly awakened stations was broadcasting data about accelerated genetic compatibility. The ancients had developed technology to speed up the natural merger of their species, but had sealed it away due to the risks involved. The station claims it can complete our biological compatibility within days instead of generations, Aurora translated, her voice trembling with excitement and apprehension. Jonathan moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What's the catch?" "The process is intense. It requires complete genetic synchronization through sustained energy merger. If anything goes wrong, we both die," he finished. She nodded, leaning back against his chest. "But if it works, we could prove to everyone that true union between our species is possible. We could have a family, Jonathan. Now, not generations from now." The idea sent electricity through his body, and he felt her respond to his surge of emotion. Their connection had grown so strong that they could sense each other's feelings without trying. "The stations are going to draw attention," he said, studying the rapidly expanding network of signals. "We're about to have company, whether we're ready or not." Aurora turned in his arms, her luminous eyes meeting his. "Then let's be ready. The accelerated compatibility station is nearest. We could reach it before anyone else realizes what's happening." "It's dangerous," he cautioned, even as his heart raced at the possibility. She pressed against him, her body fitting perfectly against his. "Everything worth having is dangerous. You taught me that when you let me stay on your ship instead of throwing me out." Their passion flared, enhanced by the energy surging through the awakening network. The ship's systems responded to their combined power, plotting a course to the compatibility station even as they lost themselves in each other. Later, as they approached the hidden facility, they found it already preparing for their arrival. The station was smaller than the others, but more sophisticated, its entire structure designed to facilitate the merger of their species. "Last chance to back out," Jonathan said as they docked. Aurora's response was to kiss him with an intensity that left them both breathless. "I chose you the moment I refused to leave your ship. I choose you now." The station's interior was unlike anything they'd seen. Organic technology merged seamlessly with crystalline structures, all pulsing with living energy. The central chamber contained 2 pods clearly designed for a human precursor pair. As they studied the control systems, alerts flashed across their screens. Multiple ships were detecting the network's activation. Some were already changing course to investigate. "We don't have much time," Aurora said, beginning the activation sequence. "The process takes 6 hours. If we start now, we'll finish just before the first ships arrive." Jonathan caught her hand. "Are you sure about this? We could wait. Find another way." She silenced him with another kiss. "I want everything with you, Jonathan Reese. The danger, the adventure, the family we could create. All of it." Their shared energy caused the chamber to come alive, the pods opening with a soft hiss. As they prepared to enter, Jonathan pulled Aurora close one last time. "Hey," he said softly, "remember when I bought a spaceship and found this gorgeous alien who wouldn't leave?" She laughed, her skin glowing with emotion. "Remember when a stubborn human actually let me stay? Best purchase I ever made." They entered the pods, their combined energy initiating the transformation process. As the chamber filled with brilliant light, Jonathan felt Aurora's consciousness merge with his through their connection. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The transformation pods opened with a soft hiss, releasing a cascade of iridescent energy. Jonathan emerged first, his body tingling with newfound power. He turned to help Aurora, and his breath caught in his throat. Her green skin now had patterns of luminescent silver that shifted like starlight. matching similar markings that had appeared on his own skin. Their eyes met, and the connection between them exploded into something beyond anything they'd imagined. "Jonathan," Aurora whispered, touching his face. Where their skin met, energy crackled visibly. "I can feel everything." He could too. Their consciousness had merged completely, yet they remained distinct individuals. They could sense each other's thoughts, feelings, and the incredible power flowing through their transformed bodies. "The ancients never achieved this level of synthesis," Aurora said, examining the data readings. "We've evolved beyond their predictions." The station's alerts interrupted their wonder. Multiple ships were approaching. Helios vessels, government cruisers, and others drawn by the network's activation. "Time to test our new abilities," Jonathan grinned, pulling Aurora close. Their enhanced connection made every touch electric, every embrace a surge of power. They reached out together, their combined consciousness extending through the station's systems. To their amazement, they could control everything with just a thought. The facility's defensive systems, communication arrays, and even its structural configuration responded instantly to their will. "Show-offs," Aurora laughed, as Jonathan used their new powers to rearrange the station's architecture into a more dramatic configuration. "Ready to greet our audience?" The first ships were arriving, weapons charged. Jonathan and Aurora stood together in the control chamber, their bodies glowing with shared energy. Through their connection, they coordinated their response perfectly. "Attention approaching vessels," they broadcast in unison, their voices harmonizing in an otherworldly way. "We welcome you to witness the truth of our shared heritage." They demonstrated their transformation, showing how human and precursor DNA had merged to create something new, something stronger. The station's sensors recorded everything, broadcasting the data across the galaxy. "The separation of our species was never meant to be permanent," Aurora continued, while Jonathan channeled their energy to create stunning visual displays of their shared history. "The Void Hunters are gone. It's time to remember what we can become together." To their surprise, the first response came from within the approaching fleet. A human precursor couple on one of the ships revealed themselves, inspired by the demonstration. Then another pair came forward, and another. "We're not alone," Jonathan sent through their connection, feeling Aurora's joy merge with his own. Their enhanced abilities let them reach out to each hidden pair, showing them how to awaken their own potential. The network of stations pulsed with energy as more couples stepped forward, no longer afraid to show their love. Director Thax's voice came through, surprisingly subdued. "The evidence is overwhelming. Helios cannot deny the truth any longer." "Good," Jonathan replied, drawing Aurora closer, "because we're just getting started." The next few hours were a blur of diplomatic discussions, scientific analysis, and more couples coming forward. Their transformation had proven that complete union between the species was possible, opening the door for others to follow. Later, in their quarters aboard the Stellar Dreamer, Jonathan and Aurora celebrated privately, their enhanced connection making their passion even more intense. Their bodies glowed with shared energy, creating patterns of light that danced across the walls. "So," Jonathan traced the luminescent patterns on Aurora's skin, "still glad you refused to leave my ship?" She laughed, the sound creating visible ripples of energy between them. "Our ship," she corrected, pressing closer. "And I think it worked out pretty well. Though I doubt either of us expected to evolve into a new species." "Speaking of evolution," he placed a hand on her abdomen, feeling the tiny spark of energy there. The beginning of new life, made possible by their transformation. Aurora covered his hand with hers, their shared consciousness filling with joy and wonder. "A child of both worlds," she whispered, "the first of many." "We should thank Helios," Jonathan mused. "If they hadn't tried to stop us, we might never have found the stations." "I prefer to thank that junkyard," Aurora smiled, "and a stubborn human who bought a ship without checking for resident aliens first." Their laughter merged with their energy, creating a beautiful display of light and power. Outside, the network of stations continued to pulse with activity as more couples came forward, ready to embrace their shared destiny. The galaxy was changing, evolution accelerating, all because a human man purchased a spaceship from a junkyard and the resident alien girl refused to leave.